I actually remember being born. I remember very briefly what it was like, my first breath. I have a very intact memory.
You remember being born?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Don't you?
Let's bring it back to the start. How did you end up homeless, and what age was that?
So I was 15 when I got made homeless with my mum. I left school with 0 GCSEs. Because of it, I couldn't sit my GCSEs because I couldn't go to school. I didn't really want to go to school. I had a rocky relationship with school, and now I felt to myself that what's the point in going to school? I've got to be my mum. The short summary is this: I tried to kill myself, and it was the first ever project management task I've ever had. I've just put the last 2 weeks of my life, I've worked so hard to want to end my own life, to die, that if I put a fraction of that into living, then imagine what I could achieve if I actually tried.
As men, we want to provide and we want to protect, especially for the ladies in our life. Did you feel a certain responsibility on your shoulders at a young age that you were the person that had to kind of get me and mum out of the
Yes and no. The feeling of managing that amount of money was a joke. And I made a website and I called it Apprentago, which means find an apprenticeship and go with it. You know, through running my own business, I believe that I can do anything. Maybe not the first try, but my biggest strength is my biggest weakness, and that is I don't give up. Has this made a lot of money? Not necessarily. Has it made some money? Yes. I believe I could take this to a generous £40 million company in 4 years, based off the modelling and everything.
I hope that you do, genuinely.
I hope I do too, and a lot of that money, I hope I do too. I really hope I do too.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Gooms Podcast. Today, we sat down with Carlo, an entrepreneur who was homeless at the age of 15 and on the brink of committing suicide. But there was light at the end of the tunnel. Carlo went on to land an apprenticeship where he would manage an investment portfolio of £83 million, which he later decided to step away from to work on his own software, Apprentago. Apprentago is a platform which connects business owners and young adults that are searching for apprenticeships. It's a platform that he only dreamt of having in his earlier years. This is truly one of our most inspiring episodes to date, and we cannot wait to share it with you guys. Thank you to all of you for all of the support on the last 100 episodes of the Gooms Podcast. Me and Chris cannot thank you guys enough for tuning in every single week. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and enjoy the episode, guys. You come in, you say you went through being homeless, £500 a month, all of these things are big talking points. Where did your journey really start?
I mean, it kind of started when I come out of the womb. I remember my first memory. I actually remember being born. I remember very briefly what it was like, my first breath. I have a very intact memory, but that's very long time events. In the moment, I'm not very good at remembering things.
You remember being born?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Don't you?
No. Nah, I ain't got a clue.
Well, yeah, you just come out. It's like quite scary. You see everyone looking at you. And I remember coming home. I remember literally laying as like a few-month-old baby with my mum. I remember going to the doctors for the first time. I was like 1 year old. Like, I remember all these things.
That's insane. That's like, I don't know if you're trolling me or not right now.
I do remember the most sort of random things.
Are you sure these aren't just dreams that you think were experiences?
It depends on how you want to take it, because certain dreams, they say, is just you reliving certain memories that your brain simply just forgot.
Wow. That is true. I never really thought of it from that angle, to be honest with you.
It's the autism, that's what's
Well, let's come away from obviously remembering childbirth, which is the first I've ever heard anyone ever say. So first of all, congratulations. But tapping into more so like the angle that H was trying to take, let's bring it back to the start. How did you end up homeless, and what age was that?
So I was 15 when I got made homeless with my mum, and the main reason we got made homeless is due to a lack of financial education. My mum had to bring me up as a single mother. My father left when my mum was 7.5 months pregnant. And where we was living at the time, the landlord was incredibly abusive to us. I mean, talking physically abusive as well. And it wasn't very nice. It was a horrible environment. And we was about to be kicked out. But 3 days before we got kicked out, we left to try and actually get into the hostel faster. But the council said to us that we actually made ourselves voluntary homeless. And from that point on, for the next basically 3 months, we were basically in and out of the car, going to like this place, that place. It wasn't very nice. And it was a big reality check for me because I've always been poor, but I always had a roof over my head. And when you don't have a roof over your head and you've had to pitch a tent up in a car park and you then have to go to this food bank or you just do this type of things, and you realise that a lot of the people that you're meeting at these places are just normal people that you wouldn't even know about. I'd meet different paramedics, for example, who were there. And I'm like, you're a paramedic? He's like, well, yeah, but in central London. And this was like back in 2016, 2017. They're like, can't afford any rent. We're only on like 18, 19, £100 a month. And I've got a kid to feed, so we're pretty much in and out of the housing system. So yeah, I got made homeless due to a bad lack of financial education. And it was the best thing that actually happened to me in the long run, mainly for the reason that I left school with 0 GCSEs because of it. I couldn't sit my GCSEs because I couldn't go to school. I didn't really want to go to school. I've had a rocky relationship with school, and now I felt to myself that what's the point in going to school? I've got to be my mum. And it was only through being homeless for 8 months, and I've been to all different hostels around the east end of London, mainly a lot in Ilford, which is where I'm from, and then some really old 1910s air base in a place called North Weald, which was freezing cold and full of mould, which was absolutely great. In terms of, you know, as well, stepping over dead people's bodies in Ilford, because there's people who do heroin that just die in the kind of hostel doorways because there's no locks, or you just walk around at 2 or 3 in the morning and you just see a different perspective of life. But at the same time, it was really good because it made me realise that, well, there is more to life than this. And you grow up and you think that you have it really hard, but then you really realise that, wow, some people have it a lot harder than others. And this is the country we live in. And I can't lie to you, I was incredibly depressed when I was homeless. I actually tried taking my own life. I might have mentioned just to you on the call we had before the podcast. And the short summary is this: I tried to kill myself. And it was the first ever project management task I've ever had. I planned it out meticulously in August of 2017, meticulously. And it got to the day that I went and tried to do it, that I couldn't do it. But I was so angry at myself. I got to my knees. I was crying. I don't cry for months. I'm not a big crier. I actually am more now. But the reason I was so upset is I said, I've just put the last 2 weeks of my life, I've worked so hard to want to end my own life, to die, that if I put a fraction of that into living, then imagine what I could achieve if I actually tried. And from there, I tried to turn my life around. And I won't say I turned my life around. I was in a situation and I tried to bounce back. I defied the odds, because I might have joked that I actually do have Asperger's syndrome. I got diagnosed that when I was 10 years old.
What actually is that? I'm actually unaware.
Asperger's syndrome is a form of autism, and it's the form of autism that people in the media know the most. Einstein has it, Elon Musk has it, a lot of famous people in history have it. But then again, I won't look at that as a good thing. Asperger's syndrome is basically the lowest form of autism you can have, but you also have kind of ADHD. The way I would explain it, and I'm not a medical professional, is imagine you have 50% ADHD, 50% autism. You mix it together, and there you go. So you're not really, really bad, but you're not completely okay either. So in school, when I was diagnosed, it would be like, we can't put you normal kids, we can't put special education needs kids because you're not right there. So you're just in the middle. That's how I would explain Asperger's syndrome to people.
Okay.
50-50.
I want to pull it back slightly. I mean, you mentioned that you went homeless at 15 with your mum. You had a non-existent father. As a young man, the man that I see in front of me, I can only take you for face value. You seem like you want to build stuff. You want to, as men, we want to provide and we want to protect, especially for the ladies in our life, right?
Yeah.
Did you feel a certain responsibility on your shoulders at a young age that you were the person that had to kind of get me and mum out of the shit?
Yes and no. My mum's always been a very strong woman. She's not been the perfect mother, but I don't think anyone could be the perfect parent.
Yeah.
My mum's always taught me that she's her own person and she can do what she wants. And have I had the masculine urge to want to protect her? Yes, of course. But you also have to understand there's a fine line between doing what's best for us than doing what I think is best for us. And that's why I try and look at it like that.
And going back to that when you were in that place, you're homeless, leading up to potentially, planning out taking your own life, what were the thoughts that were going through your head? What was it that really led you there? And then what was it that made you stop and not want to go forward with it?
What made me stop was the fact that I couldn't actually go through with it. That was the main plain reason.
I'm glad that you didn't, by the way.
Thank you. So
Me too, by the way.
That's two people. It's one of my mum's out there. She'll agree. I just thought that I'm so conscious of what's where that I'm really silly. It's like, the way I'd explain it is, imagine you walked out your house naked. You could think you could do it, but no one's really going to do that, right? Like, you're not actually going to go like, no, I'm not doing it. It was kind of like that, the way I'd explain it. Why I actually did it was more for the reason that I just felt, what have I got to do? We're never going to get out of this situation, and it never is going to work. And mum's not well. This place is crap. I can't do anything. What's the point in me being here? There's no big story to it. It's just them few thoughts.
I'm really sorry that you had to go through that, man. I know. I mean, you shrug it off now, and you say that you can look at it and you can take the positives, and that shows a lot about you, the type of person that you are. But at that age, bro, like I don't wish that upon anybody. And yes, it might have made you the person that you are today, but you still had to go through that stuff. And that's something that a lot of people do go through, but it's also something that a lot of people will never go through. And you had to go through it at a very sensitive part of your upbringing. I mean, if I look at myself at 15, 16, you don't really know what you want. You don't really know who your friends are. You don't really know what you want to do. I didn't even know what I wanted to do at college. My biggest worry was, am I going to pass my GCSEs? And you had to worry about, where are we going to sleep tonight? What are we going to eat? Am I going to walk over somebody dead because they've done an overdose? Yeah. Like, I'm sorry you had to go through that, bro. And I've got immense respect for you that you are still here today, especially with the stuff that you're doing as well.
Yeah, I mean, they ever say that every superhero has a great origin story. But the origin story between a hero and a villain is one person that decided to change themselves, the other person decided to fight against the world.
You've got to this place in your life where you've decided to not take your life, thankfully.
Yes.
Then where did this lead on to in terms of you finally, you're working, you're getting paid £500 a month, to then landing this apprenticeship, which went on to change your life forever?
I mean, there's a bit of a time gap. So
talk to us about it.
The quickest way to go through it is this. When you have 0 GCSEs, don't finish them and try to go into education again, you have something called a level 1 course. Level 1 is basically a year 10 course. You do that, it's like a year 10. GCSE is like year 11 equivalent, and then year A levels at a sixth form, right? Mm-hmm. So I had to actually go back and do the year 10 stuff for a few months. And the people that took that class, everyone actually failed. So in my class at college, I resit myself at a college because the government actually funds a lot of this stuff to help people. Surprisingly, it actually does give you pretty good help. They don't advertise it very well, but they do. And I remember my first kind of day there in this maths class, and I was like, well, I don't really know a lot. I know some maths, I'm quite good at things, and my English has always been pretty good. When I was in school, I was really smart. I was just not very sociable with the autism because I just didn't really have any friends. I was never picked on. I was never really bullied. I just didn't really fit in. And I remember my first day there, everyone was knowing what they were doing because they've all failed it and they're all sitting it. And then in the class were like different drug dealers because they failed it. Kids who were from really bad homes, then also kids who were, you could argue, worse on the spectrum than me. And I had to kind of go through that. And then I'd done an IT course because I've always loved video games. And on the entrepreneurial spirit side, what I used to do when I was 14, say, just turning 15, is I played a lot of video games, sort of MMO games like Ark Survival Evolved. I played game battles on Call of Duty, and I'd earned some money doing that and put it to a side. And if I'd never done that, I don't think I would have actually started my own business because it taught me a lot. And through going to college, I managed after a few years to do level 1 to 3 in everything. I finished college with a BTEC level 3 in ICT. I won Student of the Year for Business and Computing. And I also passed my GCSEs. I got an A in English, but I failed math once and I had to resit it. It was really annoying. However, the funny thing about failing maths is, and I'll get back to this, is according to school, I'm really bad at maths. And I just want to leave that there, and I'll get back to it. So through them 4 years, what actually happened is me and my mum didn't get housed after the 8 to 9 months being homeless. What essentially did is they just leave you in the hostels, and there's actually a lot of people just left in hostels. And my nan was basically just fallen ill, and all my cousins and everyone else at the time moved out, so I moved into my nan's and looked after, and my mum went on to quite a dark path and wasn't in my life for a few years in the nicest way possible without getting into it, but she came out that side now and she's clean off everything she ever did, which is amazing, 2-3 years nearly. And I was looking after my nan, and I was just like, well, what am I doing in my life? I'm at college, I'm studying, but it's really easy. I'm playing video games, I need to go and work. So what I did was I walked up to the local charity shops and I started volunteering there. And I started to look at these businesses and realize I can start eBay stores in them. And I can actually figure out how things work and barter. I make some friends at college whose older brothers and sisters had a maintenance firm, ended up doing that. And I was on a building site, doing landscaping work for 2 years. And when basically everything happened, I was working 4 different jobs and not really earning a lot of money because I was just getting mugged off. But I was earning something. And through doing that, I got a pretty good CV of things. Student of the year, won this, done that, and I was quite talkative. And it got to the point where I got an offer to go to one of the top 5 universities in the country. And I was really, really happy with myself. However, my nan just had a heart attack. And I didn't want to move halfway across the country. And my mum wasn't really in my life. And I thought, if I leave you, who's going to look after you? You refuse to go in home. And I thought, I don't want to go getting 50 grand worth of debt if I'm just going to go find a job after. I'm already kind of working. And I didn't go to uni. And I could have gone. And I'd have been the first one in nearly 3 generations of my family to go to university. Because most people didn't even go out of school. My nan, for example, was brought up after the war. And, well, if you know anything about that, it was just more about living. And my great-grandparents left school, didn't even leave school, really. They just went to the war. So that was how it was. And through doing that, I was like, well, what the fuck am I going to do in my life, pardon my language? You know, am I just going to work a normal job? I'm going to go to uni where I still have to work the jobs because I'm not going to afford it. So scrolling through Google, I got to the 6th page of Google looking for jobs because why would you not? And I found there's something called a degree apprenticeship. Now, I knew what an apprenticeship was. I think everyone's heard of an apprenticeship. And I also knew that apprenticeships are becoming more of a popular thing because I've always kind of been interested in education as someone who kind of got fouled by the system. And it was a £30,000 salary and it was in investment banking. I've heard that term. I watched the film The Wolf of Wall Street. Didn't really like it. Thought it was a load of crap. And I still do.
First person I've ever heard say that.
It's a load of crap. It's not true at all. I've been on the trading floor. It's not true. It doesn't work like that. Used to, apparently, but not in my lived experience. And I applied for the job. And through 5 interviews later, I managed to get the job. And I'll tell you what, I still don't know why they actually employed me. Because the truth is, they got my interview completely wrong. I was meant to do a data analyst role in the bank. And what happened is because my legal name is Charles, but everyone calls me Carlo because I'm half Italian and I'll never call me Charles, they got my interview wrong. And they actually put me in an interview with this guy. I can't say his name. We'll call him John. And John was a portfolio manager under the CIO, which is the Chief Information Officer of the whole of NatWest Markets. And he was managing one portfolio of £83 million. And in this interview, he thought it was for a graduate role, it's a new graduate role in that area. And it only got to around an hour in the interview. He said, so what did you learn on your degree? And I said to him, well, I haven't got my degree yet. That's why I'm doing the degree apprenticeship. And he wasn't actually fully aware of everything else. He was just quite impressed by my level of research in the company and also that I have quite a lot of work experience. And he must have saw my college thing with the award as my degree, right? So I went there for 4 years at college. He must have think it must mean university. And it wasn't only until an hour and 10 minutes in that he was like, you're not the right person for the interview. And I was like, well, I'm doing a degree apprenticeship. So I then had to pitch him what a degree apprenticeship was, why I should do it, and actually why I should work in his specific area of the company, because I've just missed my own job interview. And it was only to an hour and a half in the call that I'm very lucky that someone else joined his next meeting whose niece done an apprenticeship and could vouch for me. And I left the call thinking, what the hell's going on? I got a phone call a few days later saying, look, I've never hired an apprentice. I don't actually have anyone who works for me. I've been here for 30 years. I would like you to be my apprentice. And I was like, all right then. And then
must have impressed. I mean, to hold yourself in the interview for like 90 minutes before you kind of, do you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty crazy, bro.
Yeah, it was odd. It was really odd for it to work. And yeah, I remember October 2020, I kind of started my career, and I was on the trading floor. I was looking at all the portfolio stuff, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I can't say I smashed it. I mean, I did later on, but for the first year, I was just kind of, what the hell am I doing? Because my first paycheck come through, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I spent it on a Stone Island coat, because why not? And yeah, it was a strange time, and I'd done it for an apprenticeship, but the main reason I liked doing it at the start is because I got my degree paid for, and I had a really good deal, because I would look at all the graduates that would come in, even when I first started, and they would have an economics degree from, say, Warwick, St Andrews, Oxbridge, King's, LSE, wherever they're going, and they're in 60k worth of debt, and they've got all these other things, and I've just come in, I'm on a 30k salary, I'm in the same kind of area as them, and I'm getting my degree paid for. So I'm a win-win-win, right?
Happy days.
Yeah.
So you've been accepted into working at NatWest as an apprentice to this guy handling a massive, massive portfolio. What was it that you struggled with and you couldn't wrap your head around, and how did you figure everything out when you were on that trading floor working with everyone?
So luckily, I kind of got special treatment because I was the first ever. I was new, right? It was like, we have a very young person with us, and it was quite fun. I got wound up quite a lot. It was the equivalent of when I first started on a building site, when it's like, can you go get like a bubble for the spirit level kind of thing. I didn't really understand it. And as I didn't actually have a lot of economics knowledge, I actually had a lot of, financial markets knowledge. I didn't really understand how economics worked. And when I was so poor, I didn't really understand what politics was. So I learned all of that very quickly. And my economics is quite wrong, as I've been told, because my partner, who actually has a master's, near enough a PhD in economics, is I just got taught finance economics, how things work. So very quickly, when I was there, I realised that not only do I have to work 8 hours a day and study for my degree, but I probably have to do about 3 hours worth of reading. So I was doing that for a year and a half before I finally kind of led the working groups, which are the monthly reviews of everything in a portfolio, then the quarterly reviews, and I was helping write all the numbers, talking to all the project leads, and before you know it, I was quite getting myself known out there. And I wasn't a trader, but I always wanted to be one. I never actually got to become a trader. And through doing that portfolio management role, I was technically a finance bro who was actually doing a computer science degree, which I thought was really weird. And yeah, the feeling of managing that amount of money was a joke.
How long did you actually spend working as an apprentice? Did it go anywhere? Did you get a full-time role?
So what happened is I was there for around 3.5 years that I was there. And for doing that, I finished my apprenticeship, got my qualifications. And through doing it, I actually had really bad imposter syndrome. And the reason I had bad imposter syndrome is I was only one of the 2 apprentices they hired. And I actually encouraged them to hire quite a few more. And I thought, well, I found my apprenticeship on the 6th page of Google. Where can other people find their apprenticeships? And I thought, well, I could make a website, because doing a year and a half as a portfolio assistant manager, that was the correct terminology for it. I'd then done 2 years on a trading desk on the pricing and fixed income desk as a software engineer doing all the UI. So what that meant is I wasn't doing any of the hardcore back-end stuff. I was doing a little bit of that, but mainly what the traders were looking at, I would understand it. So if you showed me a few trading desk screens, I could actually understand some of it pretty well. Not super in depth, but I could understand it. And I thought, well, you know what? I have a good finance knowledge. I can code ish, not great, ish. I was a C# developer. For everyone who's listening, basically that means that I understand a specific part of coding. I can code actual apps not website stuff. And I didn't know how to do that, so I had to teach myself it. And I made a website, and I called it Apprentago, which means find an apprenticeship and go with it. And I made a TikTok video and a LinkedIn post. And my LinkedIn post got 3 likes, my first one. It was really disheartening. I hate LinkedIn, and I still do. But my first TikTok got 50,000 views. And it was just a day in the life of an investment banking degree apprentice. And I showed what I did in the office I worked, and everyone was like, what the hell is this? And through doing that, I thought, well, there's got to be something here. And I started advertising all these apprenticeships. I started reaching out to all these companies, advertising all this work for them. And through doing that, I got myself a little business going on. And I was really, really enjoying it. But I wasn't really making any money because I was doing it all for free. I would message Microsoft or Deutsche Bank and be like, hey, you do apprenticeships. Do you want to hire more? Put you on my website. I'll make a video for you. And they're like, okay, can I just get a testimonial? That's all I want. And I just kept doing that. But I wasn't making any money, but everyone thought I really, really was.
Do you think going into business, it's important to do that part of it? Growing the business, working for free and trying to build up testimonials, finding out what your product actually is. Do you think that's important for every business?
For an educational technology company, which is essentially a recruitment company, because they're very similar companies, I would say it is, yes. But I also think it's finding your product market fit. And the only way you find your product market fit is with feedback and finding out what it is. Joseph Valente is one of the people I look up to. He should be a great guest. You should get him on. Says to me, Carlo, you could never actually control where the market's going. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, it isn't about where the market's going. It's about how you fit into it. So for a business doing it for free, you shouldn't do it for free unless you actually think what's the benefit of it. If I'm saying to you, you're Deutsche Bank, I want to make you top bank in Germany, one of the top 4 in the world, you could argue, I will make you a social media for £500, and they say no. But if I start making you for free and you give me a testimonial, I could then go and use that piece of paper as testimonial to go to every single one else, and it works more. And you also have to understand that majority of these companies, especially corporate companies, you have to think of the deal process. Right? If you're looking for a sales pipeline and you envisioned it, how long does it take from the initial qualifying the lead all the way to the proposal call? How many interactions are between there? How many automations need to be taking place? And when you finally actually get that money through, what are you actually going to do with that cash flow is what I think to myself. Or I could just skip a lot of that and just do it for free. I can just put it through the marketing department and get it done. And then that can foster the relationship for a time in the future. That's in the CRM, and I can just send a quarterly email being like, hey, we're Apprentago, find an apprenticeship, go with it. And we make a video for you. We'd love to make you another one. And then talk to them and say, look, you've spent X amount of money on this. We've made your video that's done 3 times better and it's free. Let's have a talk with what you guys need more. Mm-hmm. That's what I would do.
What was the feedback like when you were doing this free stuff? I'm guessing it was all good stuff.
It wasn't very good feedback because I made mistakes and I had to understand how corporate branding worked, which is, for anyone who knows how corporate branding works, it's not very fun. And I still mess up. I'm doing a free video right now. I can't say for the company, but they're one of the biggest logistic companies in the world. Mainly for the reason that a lot of companies don't have budget when it comes to education and apprenticeships, even if they hire them. And I think the feedback you can get from a free customer is, I think they'll be a bit more honest with you because it's free, and they also know that if they're paying you, people are like, oh, I paid them, I can't mind it. But when it's free, people really dig you out, which is really not good for your self-esteem, but it also can be a very good lesson for learning.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it would be the opposite, to be honest with you. I feel like, let's say if we provided a service to someone, exact same person, but in different worlds, let's say one of them was free, one of them was paid, and we got terrible results. I feel like the free person would be a lot more forgiving than the person that's paid us.
Not when they're a corporate company. When they're a corporate company, time is money, right? Every single second that someone is working and logged on is a billable second, right? Mm-hmm. And if they're reviewing something that's a piece of crap, even if you think it's really good, doesn't matter if they paid for it or it's free. And if it's free, they can go at you really, really more because what contract they have with you. If they've paid you, then you can basically slander them publicly if you really want to. Mm-hmm. That's how I look at the world.
So if all the feedback was shit, what were the next steps?
Well, to go back and make them better. That was it. Make them better. what else can you really do? If they don't like it, you ask why, and they say it's because of this, and you're like, cool, you change it. But you also have to not change it how they want to. You have to change any piece of work, right? You have to change it how you want to, but how I best see fit.
What were the changes that you made? Where did it take the platform to? Have you monetized now? Where are we at?
So with Apprentago, just for context of what the company actually is, I think I should have mentioned this a bit earlier before getting to my story, is what Apprentago does is it connects businesses with young, eager, untapped talent that want to go into work, and then apprenticeship is the best thing to do that, because as a business, you don't pay any national insurance on hiring an apprentice under the age of 25, and all their education fees gets paid by the government. All you have to do is pay them a salary, and 90% of the people that finish an apprenticeship stay at that same company. It's a very good scheme. It lifts people out of poverty, and young people these days are really keen to work. What our platform does is it enables any business to go on there and hire 5 young people through an apprenticeship for free. If you want to hire more than 5 people, have a social media video done by us, it will cost you money. And the reason we do this is because the government's own apprenticeship service, I don't believe is fit for purpose, and I want to deliver a more comprehensive solution than what the government does. Now, for students go on the platform, or young people in general, will go on the platform. We have an AI CV builder, which sounds really terrible, and it's pretty good. It could be better, but I always think it's pretty good. And it enables anyone to make a standout CV within 5 minutes. And this is a CV specifically tailored to help you land an apprenticeship. And we have all the data through about 350,000 people we've helped in the last year land apprenticeships. And we've used all that data to basically make the CV thing, because what a lot of people struggle with is writing a CV. And unfortunately, you need a CV to actually go and land a job or fill out an application form, which is essentially a CV. And we have that. They go on there, they see all these different jobs, they click inside the jobs, and it tells them everything about it without the corporate lingo. And they can watch social media videos that teach them about the job. They apply for it, track it all in one place, keep going back to it and take their notes, and they can make new CVs and different things. The best way I could explain Apprentico to students is it's the one-stop shop for everything apprenticeships. And if you're looking to land one, it's the place to go. I don't charge students. I only charge businesses. I have courses on there that you can watch that are fully edited professional video courses and ebooks, all free. Everything is free.
Is it purpose-driven?
100%. I do this because I don't care about money. I have been wearing the same top and the jeans I have on since I was 17, 18. I really don't care. If I cared about money, I would have stayed at NatWest and I would have accepted my 6-figure job salary, which I would have finished on, which I don't think for a 22-year-old would have been that bad, really. And you could probably, by the time you're 30, be on near enough £250,000 if you wanted to. But I don't really care about that. I care about helping people. My currency is helping people. It's all about impact. It's about changing people's lives and also enabling businesses to go and actually hire a young person and to help that young person, but also grow their business and have a commercial reason as to why they should go and do that.
Do you think that stems from your upbringing in your situation?
1,000,000%. Because if I never done that apprenticeship, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you now. I wouldn't have learned skills that some people who are 10 years older than me don't really know. And because of them skills, I am able to go and help people. I've taught myself everything. You know, through running my own business, I believe that I can do anything. Maybe not the first try, but my biggest strength is my biggest weakness, and that is I don't give up. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
You said that the government's apprenticeship scheme it's not really as good as it should be, right? Do you wish that you had something like Apprentigo when you were on page 6 of Google trying to look for the apprentice?
100%. Because when you apply to university, what happens is you have a thing called UCAS. And with UCAS, it's the one-stop shop. Yes, you pay £27 to go and do it, or £30 now. You apply for 5 university choices, and that's it. It's a really good business model because you know that every year you're going to make all this money, and then you just filter it through as a CIC that then gets put into a media company, which is really good. Great business model if you can do it. Quite legally hard to put it off. And what the government has for apprenticeships is there is no UCAS equivalent. And everyone right now is trying to jump on apprenticeships, but they're not trying to do it. For example, you with a degree apprenticeship, you actually get to go to university. However, there is a company that has a name similar, I can't name it, called Not Going to the Uni. And it makes you think, why would I be called that if I'm doing an apprenticeship or I'm going to university? Well, again, UCAS are now doing apprenticeships and advertising them, but there's no branding for it. As in with Apprentago, we want to be that place. We want to have Apprentago in every single job centre with the DWP. We want Apprentago to be in the hands of the most vulnerable children in London and all around the country, that they can use it to educate themselves, to go and actually get that job. And by us not just having that for young people and enabling businesses to actually go and do that, that means that young people from areas such as in Worcester, where there's not enough of many opportunities here as there are in central London, a local business can post on the platform and a person from the local area can apply for it and go for it. And there's a lot of opportunities out there for young people in certain parts of the country more than others. And the ones that have less opportunities, how do you find out about it? Because all your search results are better for the top best things out there. You guys do paid ads, you know probably a bit about SEO. SEO for a company that's not in London is a lot harder than if you was in Worcester. Mm-hmm. So how are you meant to go find a job that's in Worcester? Mm-hmm. It's hard, especially for a young person. And having a platform to do that is free for any business to do. Just want to hire more than 5 young people, I think is a really good way to do it. And you might be thinking, well, what business hires more than 5 young people? Well, a lot of them do now. A lot of these bigger companies will hire 10 apprentices. And by having that free relationship, I think that it gives us a way to not only get market validation from new types of users that aren't on other platforms, but to also get market share, to be like, well, we actually have a huge percentage of the market. Yes, they're not paying us. However, we also probably could get them to buy off us at some point if need so be.
Yeah, they're not paying you now, but you're providing them with a service that is top. And then when the time comes and they need more, they're going to be paying you, right?
Exactly.
You're laying the foundations.
Yeah, it's a slow burner. Like, has this made a lot of money? Not necessarily. Has it made some money? Yes.
Does it have potential to make a lot of money? In my opinion, yes.
I believe I could take this to a generous £40 million company in 4 years, based off the modelling and everything.
I hope that you do. Genuinely.
I hope I do too. And a lot of that money, I hope I do too. I really hope I do too. For the reason...
I love how monotone you, like it feels just so real. Like every expression that you're feeling, I feel it.
Yeah, I hope I do too. But the thing is that I'm not paying out any dividends to the 3rd year anyway. So everyone who's investing ain't going to get their money back quick. I'm just like, everything's going back in.
On the topic of investors, how old were you when you started Apprentago?
I was 21 turning 22. So, let me start. I was 22. All right, I started this in September 2023. I am now 23. Let me get that right.
When did you search for investors? How did you find investors? How does someone that may be listening that wants to start a company where they need investment, how do they go about doing that?
I'm going to tell you right now, 99.9% of companies don't need an investor. Don't get one. That's it. You do not need an investor. There are so many other ways you can go about it, doing it. I'll give you an amazing example here. Mm-hmm. I have a tech platform that I spoke to you about, and we had a platform that we built myself and a few others that we did it with. If you actually take the time to learn the code, or you find a company that potentially you could say to them, look, my business is valued at £1 million. If I give you 10% of my business, would you build my platform for me? The platform's going to cost around £80,000. Okay, that's not that bad, right? Then you could say we've got 10% of my business, we pay £5,000 up front. Then they've built you the platform, which saves you going to an investor straight away. And you can then have that more market validation.
How do you go, if you're just starting a business, this isn't me trying to like call you out. Or
okay, fine.
Like but it's just, let's say you're starting a business and you go to a software company that develops apps or I don't know, web softwares, whatever it is. How do you go to them if the business isn't alive yet and say, here's 10% of my £1 million business when there isn't a value to it? If it's not an actual business yet,
so
there's no product.
I think that you have to make the argument that there is no product.
It's the potential.
It's the potential. There's a risk factor to it. Mm-hmm. But also, this is what we've done without the product. Say we're at 10,000 followers. We've made around £5,000 revenue. But I've actually got 5 testimonials from some of the biggest companies in the world that we've worked with, and they're actually quite interested in this. And all the students that have watched all our courses and stuff, we actually have data to say they want something like this. So if you guys did build this, not only do you have my experience with the tech and someone else I work with who's quite technical, what would help you do this, we're looking at this as a long-term thing. And we also believe that with your name on this and the people we work with, we potentially could get you other clients. Is it negotiating? Yes. Do you have to find the right company to do this? Yes. There's so many different ways you can do it. Maybe I was lucky. However, the risks in doing that with having a technology partner is, well, they will want their return on their investment and they will want to know what's going forward. And you also have to think that these people own X percentage of your company, take 10%. So what are you going to do if things don't go well?
Do you feel the pressure of that?
100%. 100%. I think any CEO would. Yeah.
Can you talk about what percentage of the company is owned by investors or not?
I am majority shareholder, is what I will say. And I do obviously always plan to say majority shareholder. But my advice for anyone going into their seed round, which is the SCIS 250 round, is you want to finish that round with more than 60%, 70% equity. The thing is with the equity, and a lot of people get this wrong, is they think the equity controls the business. It does. But you also have to think that the equity doesn't mean really anything until you start paying yourself a profit. And when you start paying yourself a profit, a lot of people think that if you make £1 million in profit, you have to pay it to everyone. No, you don't. You can just be like, well, you're going to pay 100 grand of that in the profit. So the equity does matter, but when it comes to the day-to-day running the business, it's way more important. Also, getting investment doesn't mean you can run a business. You can have a lot of money, but you can't run a business. I've met so many startups that have raised over $1 million in their seed round that we have so much more traction than them. We've made actually a bit less money or the same amount of money, but they have no market validation. They haven't bootstrapped, I would say.
What are the pressures of having the investors? How often are you getting that call saying, hey, Carlo, mate, what's going on with that? Do you know what I mean? Because obviously I'm talking from probably the majority of the people listening and watching right now. I don't run a business where we have to deal with investments. If we're going to make a big decision moving forwards tomorrow about the podcast, about the agency, we're knocking it out between ourselves and deciding how we move forwards. Yeah.
You should, yeah.
But I'm intrigued by how much pressure there is there from the investors. How in touch are you with them, and how much of an input do they have on the day-to-day of running the business?
So my answer to this, it depends on your whole company structure. So I have a core team, because that's the board. Then you have an advisory board, right? And then you'd have people who are outside of that. Now, an investor comes in, depending on how you want them to. If they want to take an active role and come on the board, then what you're thinking about is somewhat true. I don't have that. When they come on the advisory board, it means that they can only say so much.
Right.
Also, it depends on how much equity they have. For example, if someone has less than 5%, they ain't going to have that much of a say. And also, it depends on what's on your term sheet, the terms of the investment, and it also depends on the articles of association inside of your company. All really, really boring stuff. You're talking to someone that has actually kind of done some on their own investment paperwork and everything, and done everything themselves and taught everything, contract law and stuff.
You strike me as somebody that doesn't want to subcontract any work.
I do subcontract work, but only to people who I know can do it
better than you.
No, it's not about doing better than me. It's about doing it on time. You can have the most amazing piece of work, but if it's not delivered on time, what's the point? Right?
Punctuality is a big thing. I said punctuality is a big thing.
Punctuality is, yeah. It's the thing. Like you could make me an amazing social media video if it's a week late. If you make me a Christmas video and you've worked all December to do it, and it's the best video ever, but you send it to me on the 1st of January, what's the point?
Yeah.
It could be it's an amazing video. It would have done 1 million views last week. Doesn't really hit the same, does it? If they made me an okay video and at least it's out, we have some data and metrics to see what we could do better. If you take too long, it's like the number one sales tip, which I always give people, and I'm not very good at sales, I'm marketing. The best way to close more deals is to actually respond to people more faster. Don't just leave them sitting there for 2 days. Don't be like, it's past 5 p.m, I'll message them at 8 a.m. Listen, if they're really that serious, they won't be logged off at 5. Just message them.
So in short, the reason that you wrote out those terms and you did all of that stuff was because you had the time available to do it yourself. You could have offloaded it, but you would have rather done it yourself because you had the time.
I mean, yes.
Let's say your schedule was jammed, you would have offloaded that stuff.
Yes, but I also have like some very amazing mentors. My mentor is this guy called Ash Ali. He was the first marketing director of Just Eat UK. He wrote Business Book of the Year 2021, The Unfair Advantage, a really, really good read. And I actually have it as one of my favourite coffee coasters. Right, it's a really great book. And he's really helped me when it comes to a lot of the legal stuff, because there is a lot of political legal stuff. People will try and buy and sell shares off you, but for 99% of businesses, don't get an investor. You don't need an investor. It's not about, look, some ideas you do need money. For example, to do what I really wanted to do, I needed that tech platform.
Yeah,
I could make a marketing agency out of it, could done consultancy work, and that does still make you good money. But sometimes you have to understand that you have to give away a piece of the pie for more people to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. One thing my dad always said to me was that 70% of a larger pie sometimes is a lot more than 100% of a really small one. And that's pretty much what you kind of just said.
Correct.
Yeah. So giving some of that away to build something bigger, in essence, you still have more left over than you would have if you'd just stayed on your own on the small pie.
I feel like, sorry, you're looking at me like I was going to say something. I feel like to some people at home as well, another angle that they can take in terms of investment for a business, like the angle that me and Chris are taking, like it is, entering a business that is low barrier to entry, such as an agency or whatever else it may be, something that might just take a laptop or just a few little bits of kit to then build up the capital
yourself.
Yourself to then go and build that software company or that product or whatever it may be. I mean, me and Chris don't quite know what it is yet, but it's another route that somebody can go down rather than getting investment.
Either way, you need the data to make the decision on what you want to do. Mm-hmm. The number one reason most startups fail is two reasons. It's a team. I haven't got the team, then there's a point. You might as well be a sole trader. If you haven't got the right team, it won't work. And two is they don't know what their customer wants. They have no idea. They just think they know what the customer wants. They think they know what the user wants because they've had the problem. And that problem of what you have will get you to the first stage, but you cannot carry on with that the whole time.
Mm. How do you go about finding what your customer actually wants, what the market actually wants?
And then this is going to sound really generic, but it's actually just talking to them, saying, what did you like? What didn't you like? What could we do better? For example, our platform launched recently, the new platform, and the first, say, 10 customers are founding customers. And I said to them, look, would you once a month for a 15-minute call with me to tell me what you like, what you don't like? Because these early adopters are going to drive the future of your platform. Same with the students. For example, I get on my website at the moment around 50 to 60,000 students a month. And I say to some of them, £10 or £100 Amazon gift voucher. What would you like about it? What do you don't like about it? And then you use that feedback. That's the only way you grow. It's like how the podcast, right? You must have some people say to you, I really liked the guest, but you guys didn't do a good job. Or they might say, I really didn't like the guest. You guys should have pushed him more. You have to learn about that. It's situational awareness. It's also having that team, because your perspective is finite, right? And you need other people around you to actually push you. And when it comes to building a team, bearing in mind, I have at the moment around 9 people in my company that I wouldn't say I manage, that I work with. I have a few people that I manage. And you have to come at it from the perspective of, it's a group decision, but you still have to take, the fight. The best way I would explain this is a Lord of the Rings analogy. So at the end of the third film, there's this big battle, and you've got two kind of things. So you've got the guy at the front who's on the horse with his sword saying, come on then, we've got to go into battle. That is the CEO. The CEO is that person going into battle. However, that's only half of the CEO's mind. The other half of his mind, right, is being Napoleon, sit on that hill and looking at the warfare and thinking, okay, I'm down there fighting, but I also have to worry about all of this at the same time. That's
deciding the next chess move.
Yes, but you also have to play the game. It's working on the business and working in the business. For example, this podcast is me working on my business. I'm not working in my business. Yeah.
Dope.
How do you gamify the business?
What is your definition of gamification?
I feel like it could potentially be different for everybody because not everybody enjoys the same type of games. It sounds pretty simple to say, but it's true.
Point.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, I've never really looked at it from that angle, but you just got the best out of me.
So I think,
like for me, gamifying, I don't know, competition. I feel like in the office the other day, so we're doing a lot of card outreach. Goss, who you met earlier, I was like, come on then, next half an hour, let's see who can send out the most cold DMs. And that was like gamifying it for me. Like that was quite fun. Again, I enjoy learning things, starting from zero, working on a skill to then get said outcome. So for me, if I have to sit there for a couple of hours, watch some YouTube videos or whatever it may be, go through whatever it is and like build up those skills to then eventually be able to do something, like that's also gamifying it to an extent for me.
So for my business, I think for businesses who come onto Apprentago, it's not about gamifying it. It's about making it friendly. I think with a lot of technology platforms, they overcomplicate it. My nan can use Apprentago, and I think that's very important. For students, I think that the gamification aspect comes to the point of completion. Like, we don't hide things behind barriers. We're not like level 1, level 2, level 3. Mm-hmm. I look at it as an open world game.
I did actually mean from like you personally.
Oh, my mistake.
It's cool. No, don't worry. I enjoyed that answer anyways.
No, it's like an open world game, right? Like when you're playing Elden Ring, it's like you've got everything everywhere. You can actually go to like the last boss straight away if you kind of want to. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but if you're really, really good, you never know, right? But what I mean by that is I like the idea of having freedom, not having this is level 1, level 2, level 3. It's you're in Apprentago, you're like creating your characters, creating your CV. You're in. This is everything. Good luck. We give you some advice and tips, but it's your choice to go where you want and watch different things. I like that kind of creative freedom, and the rewards you get of doing it, I say, is you get different knowledges to go and apply for the job, because the job application is the boss, right? You apply for the job, you get through all the different stages, you get to final interviews like the final boss. Do you want to keep losing? Are you going to keep winning? And if you win, then it's amazing. You've got a job, and then it might be like, well, I actually want to get a few more offers. I might have got an offer from, Deloitte, and I really, really liked that, but I don't start till 7 months' time. Let's go find another one and kind of go research it. I think the addictiveness as well is I look at it like an open world game. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned earlier about your mentor and the book that he's wrote and how much of a help he's had with the law side of things. I want to ask you about the benefits of having a mentor that's kind of been through some of the stages in the business that you maybe haven't gone through yet, and how much of positive impact that has on you.
A lot of it is just getting told off. Like, don't
what
do
do
this.
you mean?
Well, it's just don't fucking do that. What are you doing? Like, well, I think it's smart. You're a CEO. Think like a CEO. And he still says that to me now, not as much.
Could you give me an example of something that you're trying to do and he's telling you, hey, stop that?
Hey, Ash, so what I'm thinking is we give this away for free, right? And then we go make this event here. And what we want to do is we want to work with these other guys. And he's like, Carlo, listen to me, right? This is your inner circle, right? Loads of people love apprenticeships and you're a really likable person. Just because you meet them, don't tell them everything. But Ash, they seem really nice. People said, listen, Carlo, I have ADHD. You're riddled with autism, right? And I'm like, thank you. That's nice. I mean, at least it's a compliment, right? Riddled. So I'll take it. Shake, rattle, and roll. And there's like examples, you can think like a CEO, or it could be legal disputes. Think like a CEO. Yes, these people are your friends, but you also have to understand in this game, it's all about positions of power. And so what is power? Power is influence. Influence, a part of that is money, but it's also social clout. It's also your ability to walk and handle yourself in a room. Are people think you need 1 million followers to start a business? That's not true. People think you need to be a millionaire to be able to walk in a room and be really strong. That is also not true. I'm broke. I legally don't own anything. And I can walk in a room and be really confident. There's so many things that having a mentor can teach you about yourself. I think my biggest lesson that I've learned is just because you can doesn't mean you should. You can go and do this, but should you do it, right? A lot of it is the resources, like, because when you're a new CEO, which I still am a new CEO, you have to be wary that you want to go and do everything. But can you really go and do everything? I want to have 10 partnerships. Why 10? Why not 5? 10 sounds good. Okay, what the success look like for each partnership? Oh, that's a good point. Is it just a free deal or what is it? It's really difficult. The best thing for having a mentor is they teach you not what to do. Right? It means like if you fall down a hole, it's like, when you're
what doors not to go through as opposed to go through.
Yeah. It's like you're driving down the road and you go through a pothole and you're in your mate's car and you say, don't go there. Because you're a dick if you let them go down the pothole. You could be the person that's, I let you fall down that hole to get a flat tire like I did, to teach you the importance of not looking where you're going to go. And that's really not helpful. Mm-hmm. But also it will teach you to look at the road. But there are other times when you're having that momentum where it's like, move out of the way. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you have to hit the potholes. A mentor has to let you make mistakes, but they have to be there when you do it. And you have to understand that your mentor is not your co-founder. They might help you, but they're not going to work on it with you every day. There's different types of relationships, is what I would say, as someone who is working with 9 different people.
You mentioned earlier that they told you at school you weren't very good at maths and that you were going to leave it there. I want you to pick it back up and tell me what you mean by that.
So I wasn't very good at maths. I failed my GCSE maths by 1 mark. I got them to remark it. And I actually lost marks. And I was like, screw you guys. That wasn't very fun. But for someone who wasn't very good at maths, I didn't manage to look after an £83 million portfolio when my boss was in Vegas for 3 weeks. And I managed that everything worked and it all kept on track. And I even got a compliment from a very chief executive in the bank that says, I actually preferred these working groups and steering groups when Carlo was running them. I think they worked really well. What do you think, John? Why I wasn't here? That's my point, John. Oh, okay. So for someone who's quite bad at maths, I think...
So what's the underlying message here?
The underlying message is that just because you're bad at GCSEs doesn't mean you're actually bad at maths.
That's exactly what I wanted you to say.
That's pretty much the message here.
Amazing.
Yes, that's it. However, when it comes to very complex algorithms and formulas, I'm not very good at those.
But do you need them? Yeah. But it depends what line you go into. But
not really. No.
You said briefly before that in 4 years you think you could take Apprentago to 40 million.
Correct.
Value. What does that look like?
That looks like around £11 million in revenue a year after, tax, around 7 million a year.
I wasn't necessarily speaking about the numbers of the business.
I can tell the numbers.
I meant more so, what does it look like in the next 4 years that Carlo and his 9 team members do to get Apprentago to 40 million?
So to get to 40 million, we need a team of 60 people.
Okay.
Right, that's that. We also need to have around 900 paying customers, recurring, and some different marketing deals. We also need to be in different local constituencies. So, for example, I am trying to work with the mayor's office, working with some of the most vulnerable people in London with all the different boroughs. I want to be UK-wide, but I'm starting in London. Mm-hmm. You need market dominance to make a lot of revenue within the education tech space. It could be worth a lot more. If people aren't aware, there's a company called Multiverse. It was one of the first edtech unicorns, which means it's got over £1 billion in valuation.
Wow.
Run by a guy called Ewan Blair, which, spoiler alert, is Tony Blair's son. And Multiverse do apprenticeships. They only do tech apprenticeships. They're a training provider, means they set the scheme up. I help place people, like recruitment with advertising, with what we do for existing. He got his company to £1 billion in valuation in 7 years. And with his logic and what he has done, which is incredibly impressive, also incredibly scrutinized, I believe that with the traction we have, if we can get to a 25th of that size in 4 years, which is £40 million, and work our way back from there, I really think that is possible. That is my biggest hope, because a lot of people say to me, I don't know anything about apprenticeships. I'm like, look at Multiverse. They've done really well.
Do you ever worry that you're putting all of this time and effort and money into building Apprentago, that one of these kind of big corporations that have the liquid, have the team, have the resources, have the connections to the businesses you want to be working with, have connections to the governments that you want to be working in and around up? No? Oh, I thought you was... Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Carry on.
I thought you were looking as if to say I shouldn't have said something.
No. I was just scratching my ear.
Sorry.
Maybe coming from the start.
Oh, fuck. Do you ever worry that a company like that is going to come in and basically just take your business from you and take the market share from you because they're a little bit further down that line?
They could do, but also, why are there 25 different main newspapers that you can buy? You can't be everywhere all at once, unfortunately. If that was the case, then we'd only need a few companies for a few different things, right? Like,
I really like your answer because it shows confidence in your products and your
answer. The product isn't the main problem. The distribution's the hard problem. You can have an amazing product. There are better products out there than Apprentico that could do what I do if they just changed quite a few things. I think they would be really good at what they did. However, it's your distribution, right? If you looked at it like Pokemon cards, is how I'd say to people. You could have the best pack of Pokemon cards that people love, but if that's only in front of 10 people and they're giving you the best amount of money, that's great. But how do you get 1 million Pokemon cards, right? How do I distribute this everywhere? Social media, yes. Being involved in chambers of commerce, being involved in this, political movement, doing these different things. That's where I believe the real value comes, even though it doesn't happen straight away.
Coming on the podcast, the Gooms Podcast.
Yeah, and I think this is really good. And I think this is a very good podcast, only for the reason that you two, I think, are going to go really far. You're at 100 episodes. So well done. I'm very, very delighted to be the 100th guest. I think you...
No, not the 100th guest.
Not the 100th.
Some of them we've done ourselves.
Okay.
But
you are a guest on your own show. You are allowed to be a guest on your own show.
Okay, you're the 100th guest then. Fucking
100 guests.
Well, no, can we be recurring guests though?
Of course you can.
But then you say there's 2 of us as well, so maybe it's over 100.
2 of the 300 guests.
Now you're making my head go.
Oh God, no, because I read this one statistic about Joe Rogan where he's had his mate Brian Redban on like 120 times.
Really?
Yes, something stupid like that. And I'm like, okay, when you really get it down, it doesn't really matter. But no, I think that these podcasts are good because a business owner might watch this and think, I want to hire an apprentice. They'll come to me, they'll go on my platform, they set it up, and it's free. Or a young person might watch this and they think, you know what, I want to change my life. And for me, podcasts is not about getting money. It's about building my network, and it's about meeting good people and having a different subset of people that watch this. And I say to people who want to go to social media, because I have won an award recently from the British Business Awards for the Small Business Influencer of the Year. Yeah, it's thank you for the congratulations. And I'm quite good at helping small businesses in my spare time and with Apprentago, it's all branded, grow. And I say the best way to grow your audience is to get put in front of other audiences.
We need to start going on some other podcasts.
That's what I'd say.
I really appreciate you, brother.
You too, man.
I want to ask you, it's kind of become like a trend for me when I meet other business owners, but just for me and Chris, for everybody that's listening at home, what's the best advice that you could give to everybody from personal experience in the business world?
Know your why. Why are you doing this? You can lose that very, very fast, especially when people join you later on. Do not forget who was loyal to you from month 1 to 3. Now you're at year 1. But who was there for you? Who actually was that springboard to push you up? You cannot forget that. Do not forget your why. People are sharks, and sharks love fresh prey, and people like to grow you. VCs always have told me, I have a few friends at VCs from my own network, when you go to a venture capital fund, what we do is we grow you like a pig, and we plump you.
And then we slaughter you and cook you.
So big, slaughter you and cook you. And the little piggies that get away get so scared of what happens to them that they decide, I wonder how many other little piggies I can do that to. And another venture capital was born. That's what I got told. So always remember your why. If something's too good to be true, 99% of the time, it probably is. Everyone always wants something in return, but that's not a bad thing. Just you have to be willing with what you're be able to depart with. And as Donald Trump says, the art of negotiating is to be prepared to walk away. The Art of the Deal, 1984.
I think it's really beautiful that you mentioned remember your why, because in last week's episode, we spoke about how to deal with the still moments of business. in your slow progress. And our last point, and the point that we put a lot of emphasis on, was remembering your why you got in the first place. And I feel really, really happy that you've just said that, because it reinforces it to us that we're kind of on the same path, we're on the right path, and we're thinking in the right way. So thank you for that, bro.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Well, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you guys for having me on, and I look forward to the next 900 episodes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Down.
And
appreciate it.
Hopefully we can do this again, man, and you can come once you've got that 40 million valuation.
Yeah, thanks. I'll tag you guys in the social media comments, yeah?
For all of you guys, I mean, we touched on it briefly, but I just want to say a massive thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for tuning in for 100 episodes. This is a big milestone for us. Here's to the next 100.
Yeah, we're putting some serious blood, sweat and tears up and down the country.
Yeah. And
for
we're
the
here.
next 100, man.
Let's go. So all of our guys on Spotify, make sure you follow us if you don't already and leave us a rating. And for you guys over at YouTube, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn the bell notification on so you get notified every time we release a podcast. And we'll see you all next week.
Catch us later. Appreciate you, Carlo.
Peace.
That was great. That outro was perfect.
Thank you.